Nancy Pelosi, we're going to talk about her and what she is doing and the role that she will be playing in regards to, I guess, handing in the impeachment to the Senate. Nancy Pelosi, non-committal on delivering impeachment articles to the Senate. So just moments after the House impeached President Donald Trump, Speaker Nancy Pelosi declined to say when or even if Democrats will deliver the articles to the Senate. She went on to state this: "We'll make that decision as a group, as we always have, as we go along." Pelosi and her fellow Democrats have been skeptical that the GOP-controlled Senate will conduct a fair and impartial trial, especially after Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, who would essentially serve as the jury foreman in the trial, conceded that it would not. And I'm not impartial about this at all, he told reporters. And again, Pelosi then cited a need to see what happens, what the process is on the Senate side. Also went on to say this: "And I hope, and I would hope, that would be soon." Nancy Pelosi also went on to say this, that she would not be delivering the articles tonight. "So far, we haven't seen anything that looks fair to us." So the idea of delaying the Senate, sending the 2 impeachment articles to the Senate first surfaced last week in conversations among Democrats, but it picked up steam in the lead up to Wednesday's House floor vote on the articles. Harvard Law School professor Lawrence Tribe further propelled the idea forward in a Washington Post op-ed in which he argued that delaying the delivery of the articles would give Senate Minority Leader Charles Schumer, more leverage when negotiating with Mitch McConnell over the rules of the impeachment trial. The key lingering question is whether McConnell and the Senate Republicans will cede to Democrats' request to call witnesses, including acting White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney and former National Security Advisor John Bolton, to testify before the upper chamber, which Democrats say will be key in order to have a fair trial. Senate Republicans, meanwhile, are hammering the idea that the articles would sit idle in the lower chamber. Senator John Cornyn stated this: "This is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard of. Are they threatening to withhold the articles of impeachment? That doesn't accomplish their intended goal. That just means we won't be having a trial." So, here's what I think about this entire impeachment. It's a waste of time, and the Democrats now have a very serious decision to make. Do they hand this trial over to the Republicans? Because everyone's applauding. Everyone's opening champagne bottles saying, yeah, we're impeaching Trump. But now you have to hand it over to the Senate. And do you really think that the Senate, in all their wisdom, are going to somehow just say, yeah, let's get rid of Trump? No, it's not going to happen. Nancy Pelosi has backed herself into a corner, and it's going to be very curious to see how she's going to fix this whole situation, because sooner or later she has to hand in those articles. Daniel, Paul, take it away.
Yeah, so if they don't hand this over to the Senate, regardless of what Mitch McConnell, and we know how terrible he is planning to do, this is part of the process. If you're going to impeach, there's more than one step. Just like if you're going to convict someone, you first have to have a grand jury, then you go do the trial. They've just done the grand jury. The grand jury says, okay, let's do a thing about it, let's impeach. Now the impeachment has to happen. If the impeachment doesn't happen and the Democrats decide they want to really wuss out and have like the weakest of all arguments, where they're basically like, haha, we got our thing, but we're not, following the Constitution and blah, 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 by basically holding this in committee. They're just giving Trump exactly what he wants. They're not getting, it means it's political. In a nutshell, it means that the entire impeachment, the dedication, the Russia-gating, the Ukraine-gating, all of that is an admission of we didn't really mean anything by this. We just thought it would work politically.
All right, Paul.
Yeah, so there's a lot to say on this. It's one of those things that happened sort of very quickly and pretty unexpectedly, right? Oh, we've got the impeachment done. The vote went through. That was expected. But hang on. You're not gonna give all the documentation. You're not gonna hand it over to the Senate to do the okay. And then what I noticed was, and I've shown you a couple of video clips about this. I think we're gonna probably do a separate video on this topic. But I'm gonna find more. It seems like everyone was like, that constitutional scholar that everyone is super familiar with, Lawrence Tribe, which everyone knows is the highest authority on this matter. He recommends that we don't do this. And it's like, okay, you all started saying that today. Like just a few hours ago. That name has not been invoked in this entire process yet. and it's just like everyone is like, that's the thing, that's the strategy.
Well, Paul, to be fair, that person was voted in by a unanimous vote to have the authority to make that decision, no?
What, Lawrence Tribe? No, he's just a professor. Like,
Oh, so he really has no authority, and they're just taking the word of someone who has, I mean, hypothetical authority, professional authority, but maybe not legal authority.
right. So they keep referring to a Washington Post article where he spells this out. A lot of people will point that out. They said it on The View. Rachel Maddow and
Yeah,
Lawrence
Rachel, yeah.
O'Donnell were talking about it. And
Yeah.
I tracked down that article. It's from June. It's from earlier this year. And it's like, okay, was I just not, I mean, I wasn't paying a lot of attention to the impeachment thing. I mostly regarded it as sort of a clown show. But that's not a name or an idea that I heard bandied about a lot. Usually it was, yeah, it's going to pass the House. It likely won't pass the Senate. And now there's this like, oh, this next level strategy that we've known all along is the way to do this. It's like, it's so smug. Like, how did this sort of talking point end up becoming the thing? And the way in which everyone sort of describes it is pretty homogenous as well. And it's very, I don't really see that being that strategically sound.
Yeah.
It's not a thing that will lead to anything being fairer in the Senate, which is what Nancy Pelosi wants. This entire thing has been partisan hackery from the get-go.
Yeah, and also it's very important that we take this everything that the media is saying about this impeachment with a grain of salt, because right now these people have no idea what they're doing. No, wait, take that back. They do know what they're doing. They're distracting all of us from the real issues. There's a lack of conversation about climate change, Medicare for all, rebuilding our infrastructure, getting rid of student debt. This impeachment is going to be one big clown show, and Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats and corporate media are trying to make this strategy seem like it's going to work, when in fact it is not. All it is it's going to help Trump. And Trump is an expert showman. He knows how to manipulate the media. He knows how to manipulate people. He knows how to make these politicians who've been in office for years look like fools. And this is going to help Trump, which is why we need to have a strong progressive to beat Donald Trump. Senator Bernie Sanders is one of them. But if this goes to the Senate, be prepared to see Biden probably be called to the stand, as well as all the Senate candidates be basically participating in the Senate portion of this trial of impeachment. It's going to be a clown show. Sit back, because it's only going to get worse.